welcome to another edition of the Rush Report. I guess I should say good morning in case you decide you want to watch the Rush Report in the morning. It's week 8. We're halfway through this season, and things are looking bleak for some of us. Some things are looking up on the horizon for some of us, and others are looking desperate.
I am not desperate.
You're not desperate now, but on Sunday you were.
Listen, my boy, he's an RB1 now.
For anybody that's wondering, Nick all season wanted to trade ETN. So there were a few of us that were trying to get ETN, and now he is the number one guy in Jacksonville. Nick's not sweating it anymore.
Yeah, Jeffrey was low balling me, so I don't care what anybody says. Jeffrey offers low balls.
Oh, man. But big news in Rushland tonight. There was another big trade that happened right before the Rush Report, involving me, of course, because it seems like I'm the only one who's making trades in this league this year. Finally got my quarterback, Nick. Finally. Trevor Lawrence.
You had a quarterback.
Kenny Pickett wasn't going to cut it, and Matt Ryan decided that he wasn't going to be able to throw the ball anymore to the right team.
But I thought you had Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but I got to do something to make sure until I get Deshaun. So we're making a comeback. And so, yes, I did make a trade with Christy, but it was analyzed by a third party that is interested in the league and reviewed it. And if anybody has a problem with it, they can take it up with the commissioner, Shayne's numbers, and just get on Discord and talk to Shayne. I'm sure Shayne will love it, especially if you talk in your Bob Costas voice.
Bob Costas.
All right. But we're going to jump right into the Rush Report now that I cleared the air and exonerated Christy's name. But last week's results, I think we had a first last week, Nick, in our pick'em results. We had our first 12-0 week. I did go 12-0 in the picks, and you went a solid 8-4. And for anybody that's wondering, I had Christy certify this. That's her signature right there. So she certified the week 7 results. So they're legitimate.
They are.
And so that brings our yearly total. For me, it's 56-28, and you 46-38. So
I have to say that's a far stretch better than I did last year.
It's way better than what you did last year. I don't think you broke 500 until the last week of the season.
Keep on trucking along. I still don't know how you went 12-0.
I don't know either. I was doing this, and I couldn't believe it. I figured at some point I was going to get one wrong. At least something good happened this past week. I guess I could say 3 good things. I didn't score the least amount of points. So there is hope. Thank you, Chad, and thank you, Christy, for making me feel at least somewhat better.
Somewhat.
All right, let's get right into it this week. This week's game of the week in the bigs is Jeffrey against Jeromey. This week, it's going to be an interesting week because it's backup quarterbacks, backup running back. The bye week here actually makes this matchup quite interesting, and these are two higher scoring teams in the league. I couldn't get enough when I was looking through this matchup.
Yeah, I was looking at the matchups this week. I was like, I wonder which one he's going to go through with.
Are you surprised?
I am a little bit. I mean, depending on your scoring system, would depend on who you're going to go after.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeffrey, I actually talked with Jeffrey this week about PJ Walker. No, I'm pulling out my Peyton Manning cast for anybody that watches that Monday night. Jeffrey's going with PJ Walker. It's a risky move. I understand it, but he does have some rushing ability, and the Falcons' defense is not great. And on the other end, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, which Garoppolo are you going to see on Sunday against the Rams? It always seems like he shows up for the Rams. but it's really a coin flip. Nick, who do you think, which Jimmy Garoppolo is showing up on Sunday?
I think the quarterbacks this week are a wash.
Ooh, he's saying a wash. I give the edge to P.J. Walker just because of the rushing ability for P.J. Walker.
His matchup's a little easier.
And he has the more favorable matchup. But going to running backs, Jeffrey had the shrewd move of adding Dante Foreman. It's not a bad ad, especially since against a porous Falcons defense that teams are able to run over. And then the fantasy stud of this year, the fantasy darling, Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce.
Yep.
I had a chance to get him at one point.
Yeah, you did, and you screwed that up. It's okay. Even Brian Cashman makes bad deals.
Brian Cashman.
And then on the other side, Jeremy's going Khalil Herbert, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard. He's taking Jeff Wilson out of the lineup. Good move. Khalil Herbert, even though it's against the Cowboys defense, I think they're going to be behind, and Khalil Herbert catching the ball out of the backfield does have more upside than Jeff Wilson, especially with Christian McCaffrey headed to San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then you've got your receivers. Jeffrey had DeAndre Hopkins come back last week. He was a stud, picked up right where he left off after a rough first quarter. Devontae Smith, who I think is going to have a big game against the bad secondary of Pittsburgh. And Jeffrey's wild card here is Courtland Sutton. Don't know what you're going to get out of him. Looks like Russell Wilson is trending toward playing, and at some point the Broncos need to figure out if Russ is the answer, and I think Courtland Sutton has to be a part of that answer as well.
I don't know. Ripken looked really good last week, throwing everything to Jerry Jeudy, so I'll take that every day.
And then on the other end, Jeremy's got Justin Jefferson, the number one fantasy receiver this year, just barely ahead of Stephon Diggs, and then Tyler Lockett, who is hit or miss, but I think Lockett might have a little bit more upside with the injury to DK Metcalf this week. DK's still questionable as we do the rush report right now, and it's 50-50 whether or not he plays. So Tyler Lockett does have a little bit more upside this week.
He does.
As far as tight ends go, Hayden Hurst, he's okay. Mark Andrews, I think last week was an anomaly. He had one catch for, -4 yards, something like that. That's not going to happen again, especially against the Bucs defense. Look for Mark Andrews to bounce back this week.
Yeah, I mean, defenses are interesting this week, though. Cowboys against the Bears, and the Pats against the Jets. I mean, we know Bill Belichick hates the Jets.
We do know that. Are there going to be ghosts in the Meadowlands this week for Zach Wilson?
They could be. They could be wearing good old gray helmets, red, white, and blue.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, I'll be nice, and I'm going to let you pick the first matchup this week.
Looking at this matchup, you got to go with certainties. Packers stink. Khalil Herbert, he's still the second guy. Gets a good defense. That's why I got to go with the Madden Boom.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jeremy has potential. I would put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked if Jeremy wins, especially if Jimmy G plays well. But I think Jeffrey's Dameon Pierce, Hopkins, Devontae Smith trio outweighs the Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones and Tony Pollard trio. I think those are the three core players that it comes down to this week.
I agree.
All right. Up next, the big move. This is my matchup with Dave. I wish I would have caught Dave last week. I would have had a chance at a win, but Dave, congratulations on your bye week win. You survived.
We got that right.
We did get that.
That was an impressive thing, and Chad made comment about it. But it's like,
it made me feel good. Chad, thank you for making my comment. Your comment made me at least feel good that somebody does watch the Rush Report.
It's like,
and it's not just the two of us babbling on about nothing.
Look at that.
Oh, man. But some big moves this week. I've been searching all year for the quarterback. Thought I had it with Carson Wentz, and then he got injured and decided that he forgot how to play quarterback too. I'm trusting the second-year guy, Trevor Lawrence, and gave up Garrett Wilson to get Trevor Lawrence.
You'll be all right.
And I feel like I have a good shot against Matthew Stafford. Stafford doesn't look like the same quarterback from last year. He's thrown too many he has had too many multi-interception games. And that 49ers defense, I think they bounce back after a bad showing against Mahomes.
One would think. I mean, they're kind of in revenge mode. I mean, they were still. They had momentum, and they're trying to figure out how to use McCaffrey. So that'll be something to watch going forward.
Yep. Now, at running back, Dave, I don't know what to make of Michael Carter right now. With the Jets going to get James Robinson, I think Carter's the number one back. And
I would say that he's safely now the number one, at least this week.
Yep. Gus Edwards, injured, don't know how much he's going to play, but he is getting Miles Sanders back. And Pittsburgh's run defense is still not great. I do like that Miles Sanders matchup because it seems like two times that he's played against the Steelers, he has had good games being a Pennsylvania player. Just me knowing Penn State running backs and the Steelers.
He's had a nice return to dominance year.
Yeah, he's been stellar this year. As for me, Dalvin Cook against the Cardinals run defense, I like that matchup. I look for Cook to hit that projection of 18. Najee Harris is the wild card. I don't think he hits that 11.5. He needs a touchdown, and I don't know if the Steelers offense is able to get him that touchdown.
To move against the Eagles is going to be the real issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the offense is just who's going to show up. I mean, the Eagles are formidable.
Yeah. Now, as far as receivers, there's no beating A.J. Brown and Cooper Kupp. I'm realistic. I think 17 on Cooper Kupp is actually selling him short. I think he has closer to 20 points this week. And A.J. Brown, I'm going to say the same thing that I said about him that I said about Devontae Smith. I think he short slants the Steelers to death and hits that 15 without any issues. As far as the receivers for me, Terry McLaurin, Taylor Heineke loves Terry McLaurin, so I'm hoping that I can get some luck after last week. And Amari Cooper against the Bengals, he seems to be the guy that Jacoby Brissett trusts. And then Pickens is a wild card. He's the guy that Pickett likes to go to. He had a great touchdown last Sunday night. And so he's getting more looks in the offense.
It's little by little, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get everybody comfortable.
Yep. Tight end's kind of a wash. Pitts is getting more looks in the red zone. Last week he had a touchdown catch, except he got held by a defensive lineman. And so they called pass interference, and he dropped the ball. Got to catch those, but still, he's getting more looks in the red zone, so it looks like Pitts might be turning around, but Dalton Schultz is Dak Prescott's security blanket, and I do like that 8.5 point projection for him.
Yeah, that's about right, considering the Bears.
Mm-hmm. So, Nick, you asked me last week if I had any path to victory. I'm going to ask you this week. Do you see any path of victory for me this week?
A lot of it is going to be your players playing over their projections, especially with you're going to need Terry McLaurin and Delvin Cook really carry you, but you're going to have to hope for Michael Carter and Gus Edwards not to do anything, because that's really your only path right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the Bucs defense is one of the best run defenses in the league. Teams have struggled to run against them all year, and the Patriots, they always try to take away the best player, and I think Michael Carter might be that this week. If it's not Michael Carter, it's probably Garrett Wilson. So I do feel like I have a chance because of that. But when it comes down to it, I still don't trust my team quite yet. To beat Dave. Dave is still one of the top teams in the league, and I'm obviously at the bottom. But just like Al Pacino said, any given Sunday, any team can win.
Except for Naito. Going to go with Dave this week.
Agreed. It's a Dave week. So, Chad, last week, Nick and I both picked Dave against you. This week, Nick and I are both picking Dave against me. So, Chad, don't feel left out. It's okay. All right, coming up next. Speaking of Chad, I did not plan that. Honest to goodness, I did not plan that. We have Adam's matchup against Chad. Chad's in a rough spot. Same spot as you and me, fighting for his life to avoid relegation. And Adam's the best team in this league. There's no denying that.
He's definitely a good team.
Yeah, he's got Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts, especially against the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense, it's not the steel curtain. Look for Hurts to have a huge week this week. Just a gut feeling. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eagles put up 45 points against the Steelers. And I'm a Steelers fan.
That's a good possibility. Good matchup for him.
Yep. On the other side, I don't trust Kyler Murray against the Vikings. The Vikings defense, it's not the Mike Zimmer defense of old, but it's still a better defense than it's above average defense, and I don't trust Kyler Murray. I can't bring myself to trust Kyler Murray.
Inconsistent play is the only thing you can't trust. You don't know what Kyler Murray is going to show up.
Yep. As far as running backs go, Saquon Barkley, Zeke, and Alvin Kamara, especially with Kamara getting healthy and Zeke getting goal line work, I think it's safe to say that Adam has the best running back trio of the league.
Yep. I mean, Kamara's back this week. He's nice and healthy. Zeke, he should be healthy this week. And Saquon is healthy.
Yeah, and on the other side, Damian Harris and Devin Singletary.
Damian Harris is second fiddle.
Is it safe to say that Chad's running backs might be the weakest in the bigs?
No.
No, it's not safe.
He does not have the weakest.
Ooh.
I went around looking for running backs today.
All right, so everybody stay tuned for Nick to see who the weakest running back group is. But I don't like Damian Harris and Devin Singletary this week at all. I don't think they're great, to be quite honest.
They're not great.
I don't think they're good this week either.
Yeah, Singletary against the Packers.
Singletary might have a touchdown because it's the Packers' run defense.
Yeah, and Harris against the Jets. It's all about game plan, but it doesn't really seem like it's Harris' show anymore.
Yeah, so looking at wide receivers, Jalen Waddle had a huge first quarter last week and then fell off a cliff. I don't know if that was because of Pittsburgh's defense actually playing ball or if it was just the way game plan went. But I still like Jalen Waddle against a bad Lions defense. And T. Higgins, you know how I feel about T. Higgins.
I love T. Higgins.
T. Higgins is... Last week was the first week that he actually looked healthy, which was good to see.
He's had a great fantasy year.
Yeah.
He's not Jamar Chase.
He's not Jamar Chase. But last week it was Tyler Boyd's week. Maybe this week it's T. Higgins. We'll see what happens. I do like Chad's receivers, though. Brandon Cooks and Stephon Diggs. Cooks gets the volume, and Diggs is the number 2 receiver in fantasy this year. So I like that. And you put Corey Davis in. Corey Davis is just a wild card. He might have a touchdown. He might not. You never know.
Keith, should Chad play Deontay Johnson this week?
To play Deontay Johnson is a bad play this week. Going up against Darius Slay, who will travel with Pittsburgh's number 1 wide receiver. Slay will either be pitted up against Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. And so depending on how the game plan goes, look for Slay to shut down Pittsburgh's wide receiver. Because if you remember, go back to week 2, Darius Slay is the only cornerback who has actually shut down Justin Jefferson. So just a tidbit there, Chad. Good play by not starting Deontay Johnson or even Chase Claypool at this point.
Chase Claypool.
As far as tight ends go, though, I will say tight end is the weakest area of Adams' team. I don't trust Hunter Henry. The Patriots' offense it's not tight end friendly anymore. I think part of that is because Josh McDaniels is gone. So I don't love Hunter Henry, but Hunter Henry's a better play than Noah Fant. I understand that. And on the other side, Irv Smith. At some point, Irv Smith was supposed to be a breakout candidate. He had that knee injury his rookie year. He's starting to bounce back, but is he going to crack the upper echelon of tight ends? Thoughts?
Irv Smith?
Irv Smith. There was so much hope for him.
At the beginning of the season, I got in another league, Darren offered me, he wanted Irv Smith in the worst way. I said no. I mean, I don't really know if it would have been much of an upgrade. He's pretty much like any other tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy. Does he have the upside? Absolutely, but the upside is not in this offense.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, does Chad have a path to victory?
Got to hope for the other guy not to play well.
Yeah,
that's the only path he's got.
Yeah, I would agree. The only path that Chad has is if Jalen Hurts either gets injured or just doesn't play well at all. That's the only thing that I can think of. I think this is an Adam win, and Chad loses another one this week.
Sorry, Chad. I'm going with Adam.
All right. Can't wait to see what Chad's response is this week. Stay tuned, everybody, on Discord. All right. Next, we have Darren's matchup with Dan. Now, Dan did not have a full lineup submitted. Dan's dealing with bye-week blues, but he did go get Allen Robinson this week. So that was a move for him. He's going to have to figure something else out to find a second wide receiver.
I like his pickup, though. He picked up Cade Otton today.
He did pick up Cade Otton, which is an interesting pickup. Cameron Brate's no longer trusted there in Tampa Bay. Except the only people that I trust in Tampa's offense is Mike Evans, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the fact that he's made moves this week. Kudos to him. It's just you need another player, and said player is going to probably be 5 to 7 points.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say, unless if you get lucky and hit the waiver wire free-for-all, or the free agency luck. It happens. We see it every week. There's always one guy that should have probably been played, but he's always on the wire. As far as Darren goes, the quarterback matchup in this, actually, this is a better matchup than what MFL says. I think Dak's going to be healthier this week, and even though the Bears' defense is good, the Bears just traded away Robert Quinn today, and I think that makes the Bears' defense a little less scary.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very scary to begin with.
It was better than it was about league average, but look for Dak to have more than just 14.5 points this week.
I would agree with that, absolutely, yeah.
And I think 18 to 19 is the right for Lamar. Lamar might hit 20 with his rushing attempts, but Lamar has been struggling this year he had the great first couple of weeks and has come back down to reality. And the Buccaneers defense is still a premier defense.
Still a good defense. I mean, that part of that team is functioning.
Yeah, I think PJ Walker last week, that was another one of those once in a lifetime things. After getting embarrassed last week, I think the Bucs are going to be ready for Thursday Night Football tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
As far as running backs go, Chubb, Kenny Walker, Jamal Williams. Nick, you know why I sigh when I see Nick Chubb and Kenny Walker on Darren's team?
Oh, Kenny Walker. He's so good. Didn't you know that?
Yep. Darren's if I ever make a trade with Darren again, don't let it happen. It seems like anytime I make a trade with Darren, he always ends up the winner.
And he's got James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it even better.
Yeah. If Adam's team has the best trio of running backs, Darren has the best quad group of running backs.
You could very well.
Because Jamal Williams is a touchdown vulture. But Chubb, Kenny Walker, and Jamal Williams. I don't think Kenny Walker has another week like he did last week, but he is asserting himself into that Seattle offense. Like I thought at the beginning of the season, it just took him 7 weeks to do it.
Took an injury.
So on the other end, though, Dan's running back crew of Darrell Henderson, Joe Mixon, and Raheem Mostert. Mostert's become the guy in Miami. Not a bad play, and Darrell Henderson is the lead back right now, but look for Kyren Williams to take over that role, and there's a possibility that Kyren Williams could be available to play this week, which cuts Darrell Henderson's projection, I think, in half.
I mean, I really don't dislike what he's got going for running backs. It's really not a bad play.
No, it's not a bad play. As far as wide receivers go, Rashad Bateman, CeeDee Lamb, you can't go wrong with those two. I don't love the Bateman play this week just because I don't trust him against the Buccaneers defense. I probably would rather play Drake London, but that's just me. And Dan's going Allen Robinson. There's some concern there if Allen Robinson's the only receiver for Dan, but we know Dan will figure it out.
Yeah, Dan's really very good about being creative and getting what he needs done.
Yep. Tight end. Cade Otton, we talked about him. Good, not great. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
The potential's there.
Could do worse.
Yep. And it's a bye week filler for Dan with Travis Kelce on a bye. I don't have a problem with starting Cade Otton this week. And then Pat Freiermuth. Freiermuth really didn't do anything last week. And there's some questions that he might be able to play due to injury this week. But luckily, Darren does have Evan Engram on the bench, who's an underrated tight end this year.
Oh, absolutely. Look, he's fit nicely in that offense.
Yep. So as it stands right now, I'm looking at this. I don't think there's a receiver out on the wire that Dan can add to make up 30 points. If we had that, he'd be on one of our teams, definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely not. I don't really see it as a path.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think this week Dan's 2-game win streak comes to an end, and Darren's, I think, if I remember right, Darren's on a 2-game lose streak. So there's a streak. Both streaks end this week, I think, and I think this is Darren's week to win.
Yes.
So Nick, so far we're 4 for 4 and agreeing. So at some point, we got to figure out how to stop agreeing.
Oh, I think we'll get there.
This very well could be the matchup where we stop agreeing. We have Steph against Caleb, the surprise Caleb, who did lose to Jeffrey last week, but hey,
you know what?
Still doing better than us.
It's Jeffrey. You can't really go too wrong with that.
No, and you just disappeared. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, good old camera.
All right. Quarterback. This is a fairly decent matchup at quarterback. Kirk Cousins has been reliable this year. I know we rail on Caleb every single week about keeping Kirk, but you could do way worse than Kirk Cousins.
Consistency. That's all you need.
But I do like Burrow this week. Burrow against the Browns. It's a Monday night game. Joe Burrow always seems to play well in prime time, in the spotlight. Look for Burrow to have more than that 17.5 point projection.
We shall see.
As far as running backs go, Fournette, Henry, and Chuba Hubbard.
It's going to be depending on whether Hubbard is healthy this week.
Yeah, but DeAndre Swift is coming back this week. It's been confirmed that he is playing on Sunday, barring any injury in practice. That's true with anybody that we do with the Rush Report. I look for DeAndre Swift to get put back into this lineup.
Yeah, He'll be an interesting matchup with the Dolphins.
Yep. To the other side, Benjamin and Kareem Hunt. It looks like James Conner is on track to play, but that's not confirmed. And Benjamin has played well. Benjamin's play kind of reminds me of James Conner from last year, taking over that backfield and playing well, being a cast off of another team and asserting himself into a lineup that proves that he can play.
Yeah, Caleb definitely has a weak running back room.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt, though, I do like Kareem Hunt just because he does get at least every third series and usually third downs, and has been getting goal line work. And look for Kareem Hunt to get moved. I read a report today that the Browns are going to be shopping Kareem Hunt to try to get some draft capital back. So Kareem Hunt could go somewhere where he's number one back.
Yep. So that's why he's a wait and see. And Melvin Gordon, it's a matter of who they're actually using.
Melvin Gordon has the yips. He's got the fumble rooskies. Melvin Gordon is not good.
Yeah, and Latavius Murray, I mean, he did look good, but
Latavius Murray's the guy right now in Denver.
Yeah, you got two. He's the better option, but you got two subpar players right now.
Yeah, as far as receivers go, Richie James and Michael Pittman, I don't like either of them. I know Richie James is one of the few bright spots with the Giants receiving corps this year, but that Seahawks defense, it's not the Legion of Boom, and yeah, they gave up so many points to the Lions. They're not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible, and look for Richie James to not have a great week this week, and Michael Pittman's going to come back down to reality of mediocre with Sam Ehlinger throwing.
Yeah, I was going to say he doesn't really have anybody to throw the ball.
Yep. On the other side, Gabe Davis against the Packers, Tyreek Hill, and Christian Kirk. I do like that trio of receivers. Does Gabe Davis have a huge game against the Packers Sunday night?
Yep, he's going to light them up like the 4th of July.
Yeah, and we've seen the Lions not be able to stop anybody through the air, so look for Tyreek Hill to have a monster game. And
Christian Kirk will probably have a really solid game, too.
Kirk could either have a solid game or he could be a no-show just because of Patrick Surtain. So look for that to play a role in the possibilities with Kirk. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kirk only put up single digits in fantasy points this week.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. They are playing in the Jaguars' unofficial home base.
Right, yeah. As far as tight ends go, Goddard, he falls right in line with everybody else in the Eagles offense. And Taysom Hill,
he got a touchdown last week.
He got a touchdown. I don't know what to make of him. I still feel like he's a wild card because he could have a 30-point game or he could have a 0-point game and nothing surprises us at this point.
Nope.
So Taysom Hill is he's the fantasy epitome of high risk, high reward. So
very true.
When it comes down to it, I do like Caleb in this matchup. The receivers take it away by far from me. Even though he's weak at running back, I think that trio of receivers outweighs the trio of running backs because the receivers for Steph's team is so bad.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's kind of how I was leaning, is that with a Gabe Davis, Tyreek Hill, that's a crazy combo.
Yeah, and matchups play a huge role this week too. I really do think that makes a difference. All right, you ready?
Let's go to the next.
Next, your matchup with Christy.
Christy, you're going down!
Yeah, this lineup doesn't show Christy's full lineup. She did just trade Trevor Lawrence for Garrett Wilson, so she does have Garrett Wilson. I don't know if she's starting Garrett Wilson this week. So we'll see what this goes. But you did luck out because Pacheco and CEH are on a bye this week.
Yeah.
So she's going Tyler Algier.
We'll see. It depends if it's the Huntley or Algier show this week.
Yep. as far as quarterbacks go, I think it's easy to say Josh Allen beats Derek Carr.
Just a little bit?
Just saying.
Just saying.
But I do like your running back duo of ETN and Brian Robinson. I know all year you were hopeful for Brian Robinson's return. He's back and he's getting the ball.
He's the man.
Yep, and then ETN, he's now the number one guy. He is the guy in Jacksonville. So I do like the potential that you have there.
Yeah, I mean, finally things are looking up. It looks, it's funny. I think it's the only time I've out projected somebody.
Yeah, I think that might be right for you this week. And then Jonathan Taylor, he looked healthy last week, but I don't know what to think of him with the Sam Ellinger-led offense.
Yes.
Concerns me.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, but I think they're going to end up having to lean on him. And so I've said it for the last 2 weeks. Look for Jonathan Taylor to break out, because at some point he's going to, and the Commanders' defense is not great. So I don't even know if I want to say this week is the week that he breaks out, but this is the week that he breaks out.
It's a good team to do it against. Yeah.
As far as receivers go, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, and you have the right giant receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. He seems to be the guy that Daniel Jones trusts, so I don't hate your trio of receivers. I don't love Jerry Jeudy this week, though.
He's playing against the Jags, though.
It's not a bad matchup, but I don't trust mid-tier guys on a Sunday morning in England. That it just hasn't seemed to work out this year.
Yeah, there's the other wild card I have is truly the word wild card. Because there is speculation that Allen Lazard won't play this week due to injury.
Correct.
So that could put Romeo Doubs, even though we don't know how that's working out this year. Yep. But he is the quintessential number one.
Yep. On Christy's side, she does have Allen Lazard, which we'll see what happens with the Packers this week. DK Metcalf, who we did talk about earlier, there's the possibility of him not playing, and I think she probably starts Garrett Wilson. At least that's the play that I would have over Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker's had one good game. And if Amon-Ra St. Brown clears concussion protocol, she starts Amon-Ra St. Brown. So look for that to happen.
Yeah, no question.
I do like Hawkinson over Gesicki, even though Gesicki he's finding room in that offense, especially with Tua back. He did look decent Sunday night. He's a mid-tier tight end in the league, but TJ Hawkinson, I think Hawkinson is at the low end of the second tier. I'd put Gesicki at the top of the third tier, and Hawkinson at just ready to take off, because the Lions offense is so unpredictable at this point.
That it is. I mean, it's against the Dolphins. We'll see.
Yeah, so Nick, are you picking yourself this week?
I'm going back to picking myself.
All right. For the sake of not picking the same matchup,
that's a homer pick by you.
I am picking the homer because I believe in Josh Allen.
Picking your wife.
Hey, what can I say? I'll say you're welcome when I'm right next week. All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Bryan's matchup with Craig.
This is the weakest running back room.
Okay. I will agree with you. I can see why you say that, but Josh Jacobs this year has been 2 running backs in 1. Just saying.
Josh Jacobs is the only running back on his team.
This is also true, but
Caleb's is out there, but Bryan would take the cake.
So, And Craig's running back room got even stronger with McCaffrey going to San Francisco.
Unfortunately.
Tua against Tom Brady. I don't like the projections of 17 for Brady. He's not the same guy. I also don't like Jared Goff this week either, so I like Tua with that 14.5. I think they're starting to show that he can throw the ball a little bit more downfield, and the game's inside, which I think is huge and plays a huge role for Tua's not strongest arm.
I'll help him out.
Yep. As far as running backs goes, Josh Jacobs, he's 2 running backs in 1 right now. He's looking like an elite back, but I don't
trust him though.
I don't trust him. Yeah.
He had 3 rushing touchdowns last week. Yes, that was fantastic. I mean, helped me in the league, but I really don't trust him.
Yeah. As far as Craig's running backs go, I think he has the 3rd best running back crew in McCaffrey, Montgomery, and Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson's become the lead back in New England, so as we're talking about this, Ramondre Stevenson probably just became the third string back because that's the way Bill Belichick works. And David Montgomery, he's the guy between the tackles, and we'll see what McCaffrey does. I think McCaffrey's touches become more valuable because they're going to be schemed more for him because teams have to take and affect other players.
Mm-hmm.
As far as receivers go, Mecole Hardman, he's on a bye. I don't know. I'm assuming probably Bryan puts in Adam Thielen. At least that's the play that I would do. Renfro and Debo, they're good, but Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. And Chris Olave has been
crazy.
He's been a really good player this year when he's healthy, even with questionable quarterback play with Jameis and Andy Dalton.
I would agree. He's fun to watch.
Yep. As far as tight ends go, you're going to see Dawson Knox get put in. Why wouldn't you put in Dawson Knox? And Kittle found the end zone last week, so look for Kittle to continue to build the strength back and continue that great rapport with Jimmy G.
I agree. Yeah, he's starting to look better.
Yeah, he's looking like the Kittle of old. So is it safe to say that we're going to agree with this matchup again?
Yeah, as long as you're picking Craig.
I do. I do agree with that. It's nothing against Bryan, but I don't trust this team that he's got put together. It's just not one that will win.
It's going to have a hard time scoring enough points.
Yep. All right, so that brings us to the bigs end, and we made it. Let's look at the Wee-Leauge. Things are a little crazy down there, and we're gonna, now that bye weeks are here, you're gonna start seeing some matchups of the game of the week that might not be 2 versus 3. It might be 1 versus 8 or 2-7, and I believe this is this one. Lincoln, who we thought was going to be no doubt winner of the league, versus Matt. Both teams are phenomenal if you look at this matchup down to the wire.
Good quarterback play by both of them. Lincoln's got the edge in running backs.
I would agree. Barkley, McCaffrey, and DeAndre Swift, huge.
And then it becomes a question of wide receivers, like what your preference is going to be, because Devontae's he's a spark plug in and of itself, but Waddle's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Christian Kirk. I don't love Christian Kirk this week because of the matchups, but Taylor Horn is sitting there on the bench that I really like.
I mean, you got Alec Pierce sitting there. I mean, but if DK's in, I mean, obviously DK's going to play.
Yeah, I feel like this is a matchup of questionable receivers that are starting at this moment, but the bench could easily be submitted without any issue.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Dallas Goedert, though, over Kyle Pitts this week, just because Goddard's a little bit more involved, but I'm also biased towards Pitts and still bitter that he's not producing the way that everybody thought.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, he is good. He's got the talent. He's just not producing.
And part of it might be that offense. So when it comes down to it, do you like Matt or do you like Lincoln?
I'm going to go with Lincoln. I like the running back play.
All right. I'm going to live by what I said when we were picking the bigs. I like Josh Allen. I know it's bitter for you as a Packer fan, but I think Josh Allen has a huge game. It's Sunday night. He always seems to play well on Sunday night, and I think that's going to bring a win for Matt this week. Up next, we've got Sam, who kudos to Sam for getting called out with his great name because of paying homage to Josh Jacobs. That's definitely the reason why he's doing so great is because of Sam's fantasy football team name. Love it. Love it. And then you've got Mark Friedman with Kyler Murray and Murray up offense.
Yeah. I like it. It's both good running back play this week.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback play will be interesting to see by both of them. I don't know if MFL got this right, though, because it's really going to be a tight match.
I think it is. And I think you put Dalvin Cook in at start. I think you probably put Dalvin Cook in over Lazard, which is 6 points right there. And that easily could be 3 points that swings either which way. So looking at guys that we didn't talk about when we were breaking down the bigs, and there's the only one that I see is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has been a very competent fantasy quarterback this year.
Yeah, how do you feel about him against the Seahawks?
I don't trust him when it comes down to it. Going to Seattle this week, playing on the West Coast, playing in Seattle at whatever the name of that field is now. It's not Quest Field, but that's what it was for years. It's still the loudest stadium in the NFL. I don't love Daniel Jones this week. So based on that, even though I don't love Kyler Murray's matchup, I dislike Daniel Jones' matchup more. So I'm going to take Mark to win this week because of in the Wee-Leauge. And Nick, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like it comes down to quarterback play down here.
In general, or just this matchup?
In general.
In general, yes, because there is 11 teams. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a better, I mean, depending on who stockpiles quarterbacks down here. I mean, Carr, Murray, Jones, and Prescott. All good, pretty solid quarterback play.
Yeah.
Yep. There seems to be a better availability of quarterbacks, but that's 3 teams and potentially 6 players.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to it, do you like Sam or do you like Mark? Which one do you like? How do you read this matchup?
I keep going back and forth, but I like the running back play a little bit more by Mark.
Ooh, so we agree. I thought you were going to go with Sam right there.
I was thinking about it, but then I was like, he's got T. Higgins and Mike Evans, and I like them a little bit more too.
It all depends on what you're feeling. All right. Our next matchup is Brandon against Owen. Owen's dealing with some bye week issues with Mahomes. That's always a struggle when your quarterback goes on a bye and you got to trust a 45-year-old. And who's played not great football. And then you have Trevor Lawrence on the other side. Obviously, I'm biased right now with Trevor Lawrence. But I think if I'm breaking down this matchup, I think I got to give the edge to Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, it's no question. The way Brady has played this year, it's too inconsistent to trust.
Yeah, I feel like MFL gives Brady the Madden treatment that even if he's playing terrible, they're not going to dock and project his points to be so low. It's just one of those things. I don't see Brady having 17 points this week.
No.
Looking through the name that sticks out to me that we didn't talk about in the bigs, there's two. Paris Campbell, but I feel like he's in the same boat that Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman are. Don't know what you're going to get with Sam Ehlinger at quarterback. I don't see him having 8 points, especially against the Commanders' defense. And then Chris Godwin. What do you make of Godwin? We've talked about Brady. We've talked about Evans.
But when we talked, it was basically the only person you can trust is Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one thing that Godwin still has is he's getting the short 8-yard routes, and he's getting the touches on the short routes. He's just not getting touchdowns, and I think that hurts his value. I mean, still, if he has 6 catches for 80 yards, I mean that's great. That's 11 points, but at some point you got to score touchdowns, right?
Only can't catch so much and get so many yards. I mean, you really need to start getting touchdowns.
Yeah. So MFL projects Brandon to win. Do you agree with that projection, or do you like the upset here because of a little bit more, I guess, higher? I don't know.
You got to go with Brandon.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to make
it's
this
the running back play
Owen.
And the 2 wide receivers. That's enough. That's all you really need.
Yeah, Derrick Henry. We didn't really talk about him, but it's the Texans' defense.
Oh yeah, 21 points. That's easy.
Yeah. All right. Next we've got Nate against Mark Nelson. Mark's dealing with a little bit of the bye week blues with Herbert on bye. And unfortunately, Nate is chubbing along and not stopping.
Oh my word. Not very punny.
Oh, it was very punny.
Oh my word. Trying to think if you missed anything. Do you want to touch Dante Foreman? I mean, we talked about Chuba a little bit.
Yeah, talked about Dante Foreman a little bit. From everything that can be seen, if Chuba Hubbard's healthy, he's still getting 50% of the work. I don't hate the play. I like him obviously over J.K. Dobbins, who isn't playing at all, and I do like Foreman over A.J. Dillon because it seems like the Packers forgot that they have A.J. Dillon on the bench.
Yeah. Oh, it's just the Aaron Jones show, the Aaron and Aaron show.
It's more of just like the Let's Not Score show. Sorry, Packer fans. But Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, fantastic receivers. They make up for the lack of a third really good receiver. I mean, Isaiah McKenzie, you could do way worse with the third receiver.
True.
But then you've got Nate's team. Is there really a weak spot in Nate's team?
No.
Yeah.
I was looking like, no. Is there a better kick? No, that's good kicker. No, good defense. Yeah, there's nothing. He's set.
I will give Mark Justin Tucker. There we go.
Yeah, that's about it.
I'll give Mark Andrews the edge over Kittle. Kittle's not the same as what he was. So I do like Andrews over Kittle. So there we go.
Fair point.
Two spots.
So it's safe to say that Nate's going to win this week.
Agreed. Nate will. I think it's safe to say Nate will win. Yeah, that's all I got, and that's what that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And last, but certainly not least, is Shayne's matchup. with Daniel. Shayne doesn't have a quarterback put in right yet, so that makes things a little interesting. He doesn't have a tight end put in yet, and there's no tight end on his bench to put in. So you take those things into account. I like Drake London this week against the Panthers. I know the Panthers have a good young corner in what's his name? It's gone. But
couldn't help you.
So there's a little bit of a mismatch right there, but I still do like Drake London because of the volume that he gets.
It's a fair play. I mean, but I would, just looking at this, I would go with ETN. I mean, just volume right there. That's an easy 12 points or more.
Yeah, I mean, Shayne said it on Sunday. When he doesn't play ETN, ETN plays great. When he plays ETN, he's terrible. So,
don't play him.
I think you're right.
I need him.
ETN, you put ETN in. So you put ETN in. I think you probably start Russell Wilson. I don't know.
Oh, well, I don't. Maybe he was trying to get the team going together on the plane ride. So he's a fun guy.
Yeah. On the other end, I don't think you start Jared Goff this week. I think you start Kirk Cousins. Just
fair play, yeah.
But I don't hate the Kenyon Drake or the Aaron Jones start. Obviously, you start Aaron Jones. And
I would go with Darrell Henderson might have the better upside, though.
He might, but the matchup there is not great. But I think you definitely start Justin Jefferson over Ayuk. I think it's Ayuk. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So that does make up for a little bit. So if we look at what we would project as matchups, Shayne's going to get a tight end. Have no idea what the tight end looks like. But looking at lineups, there's at least a capable tight end on the free agent wire down there.
Capable. I'm curious about quarterback, too. If you would roll with those two guys.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, does Shayne win this week, or is this Daniel's week?
You know what? We're ETN brothers. I'm going to go with Shayne.
All right. I got to go with what I see, and the trio of Hopkins, St. Brown, and Justin Jefferson do it for me. I'm going to pick Daniel just because I see the consistency there a little bit more. All right, and then Micah's on a bye week this week, so that's huge. So he gets the good bye this week. So that brings us to the end of another Rush Report. For anybody that had any issues with it, we'd love to see your response on Discord. Keep it coming. And if anybody wants to be a part of the Rush Report, let us know. We would love to have somebody else just talk football with us. Shayne's been on a few times with us, especially as we make playoff pushes. We have had a couple say that they would be interested. Just need to reach out and make schedules work. So if anybody wants to be a part of the Rush Report, feel free to get involved. We'd love to have you on. That's part of the beauty of this league.
It's pretty fair. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have more people in here.
Yeah.
Talk football, have a good time.
Yep. Trade deadline in the NFL is November 1st, so next Tuesday, which means we are less than a month away from the trade deadline being in fantasy football. I believe it's week 11, week 10, week 11. Somebody can correct me on Discord if you find out that I'm wrong, but trade deadline is coming. Look to make those deals, look to make those trades, and try to make your team better or avoid relegation or get to promotion.
All the above. Depends on who you are.
Yeah, I was explaining this league to somebody this week, and I love the fact of relegation. It's being in so many different leagues, there's those that when they're bad, they just start tanking for next year. But when you're facing relegation, you can't just tank, and that's making it somewhat fun for me. At least I feel like. I don't know how you're feeling. It at least brings
other leagues.
It makes Sundays frustrating, but it's fun to at least try to figure out how to make it work. And I'm not this year. I'm just overthinking everything and not making the right plays.
I overthink everything, so welcome to it.
So that's all we got. Nick, any parting words?
Don't eat too much candy Monday night, everybody. Don't get sick.
Happy Halloween, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another.